Damn. So, looky here, looky here. Shout out to my mama Jen. Feel me? My granny Genova. Say, I got 2 points to make right now. You know, it used to be it still is a sin to take money from somebody that's ill in order for you to heal them. But, you know, certain circumstances, besides from a business aspect, just trying to accumulate an income, no apparent reason, and you not being knowingly siphon people out of their money just because of their sickness. You think sickness is normal, so does they, so that doesn't count for it. But if you're like a snake and you're doing it, then you really need to be sick. You really need to learn how to grow. You need to grow more. Let's say that. But that's not my point. My point is that I have 2 points, and I'm going to speak more about it, about other things. But I'll wait till this car pass real quick. There's a danger. There's there's a there's a tactical danger that this established this establishment, this realm of social engineering throughout the whole world that we have our feet on right now has implicated, so you nor I would seem like we would have the credentials to speak out unless we were professionally titled to our own individual entitlement. And that's to be able to breathe the truth from the light that's within. You know, it's me speaking these, it's me, hold on, it's me going out, for example, it's me going out on a limb, taking the strange road, losing everything, everybody, most, some people tripping up because of my good faith, because I went too deep, and I almost lost my life 3 to 4 times through the span of 5 years because of it. And I went so depth in knowledge that I can look at things now, and I promise you, I'm more in tune. This is not me being chauvinistic or egotistic. This is me explaining to you, expressing wholesomely, humbly, part of my characteristics towards my reality, in which I can completely decipher because of the chance I took, because of the choices I wanted to make in order to change the world. Meaning, I can now look at things and know I can build that shit. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't read it in a book. It was all psychological. Psychological. It was the evolutionary aspect in which I perceived my reality. I learned to speak like that through interaction. What is that? What do they call that? What they're trying to figure out in schools and stuff. It's not. It's uh like I think they call it retaining. Like they want kids and people. They want to find better ways for people to retain information by learning by certain curriculums and ways of learning. They said that you learn by looking at pictures or writing, reading things and things of that nature. You do this all by experience. And the term that you are looking for actually is maturity. Man, maturing as in mixing up his experiences on through a tour of his existence. Man, speaking of man, male and female, I'm pretty sure there's a feminine word for the word mature. It's that deep in their mental. These words are a whole lot deeper than we believe. These letters, these numbers, from my experience and my proven knowledge, is exactly true. Dude at the Air Force Base was reading when I was trying to join the Marines. There was a black guy. He told me that the U.S. military is 50 years ahead of the general public, and the military has the general public on what they call caveman time. Now we know for a fact that they ain't doing nothing but spitting us iPhones every week or so, brand new apps. I mean, not every week, but every year or so, brand new apps here and there. You know what I'm saying? But in 2002, we were watching on what is it, standard television, military new gadgets that that they've already developed a way to camouflage an American soldier in plain sight so that he's invisible. But this is all we got in our pockets. This is all we looking at on our television screen. So these niggas find 16 to 18. Man, you know how many Earths there are out there in outer space? These niggas only telling us a certain amount of numbers because they actually been out there. And it's common sense to already know that we ain't the only planet out there. We ain't the only beings out there. And there ain't nothing but infinite space out there for things to exist. 18 to 19 planets, shit. You're gonna be out there for the rest of your lifetime until the end of time. Nigga. Trying to find anything or trying to count any number of planets out there because it's never gonna stop. My point is that all these people graduating from colleges, all these military people, all these people giving their hearts and souls to these governments just because they're afraid of them. So they figure why not just hop in and join in, see what they got for me, so I can be a special agent or some secret off the wall laboratory experiment. I ain't got nothing to lose. I just get into the military or some secret private army and just see what they working with, black marketing, and I'm not gonna be a chump and just see what they doing. Hear from Grapevine that y'all might be just going out into outer space and y'all y'all dabbling in a few things and you just don't want the people of Earth to know. How far fetched would that be for you to find planets immensely more older than ours, if not older or newer, that you wouldn't at least pass up other telescopic beings or surveying beings out there on your way to see these other planets, or as you were looking at these planets were looking right back at us. And the hunch is that we're the only people around here in the whole universe. And they find Earth's big, 15 times as big as our sun. We have space under us and above us, just as much as we do on the side of us. It's not how it's depicted on your television screen, because the way that they display it to you and present it over to you is that you only have an expansion upon the width of your knowledge of the universe. You leave the planet and you go straight. They don't want you to know that you can go down or up. And it's just as far up and down as it is side to side. Just as much. It's actually equal, but there's a never ending story to it. It's full on expansion, and you'll never reach the ends of the universe because it's constantly expanding. As you think, as you exist, your vibration vibrates to the ends of the universe, and that is what expands it. So you will never reach it, ever. I'm going to correct myself. Anything is actually possible in your existence. Anything and everything is possible in your existence. So you can reach it. I got a little biased by saying that because I had a little anger, inside of me, but I make sure I'm completely transparent and real and honest in what I'm saying. So you can reach the ends of the universe, but just know you're gonna vibrate towards you're gonna vibrate to the ends of the universe that your vibration is vibrating to. You touch it, you're gonna be touching a parallel, dimensionalized, universal piece of yourself. And maybe on the other side of that is gonna be an exo of what your being actually is. That's gonna be a whole nother dimension. It's it's a it's I'm pretty sure it's a scientific term, but it's gonna be a mirror effect because of how atoms, you know, because how the biomolecular structure was formed was being within, and then it's warping. So basically, there's another piece of you that's dimensionalized that's actually warping your existence. So if you found the ends of the universe, you'll just be touching, you'll be touching the other form of yourself. Whether that's completely, whether it's going to be in the form of you, you know, it's a possibility, but it doesn't necessarily have to. You can still just be yourself and, energy, some energy and, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But just to say that as you're vibrating, the universe is vibrating just as fast along with everything else. So you're not meant to reach the ends of the universe, but you can based upon the attraction in which you want to reach it at, which is just your God-given right to touch and do anything. So, I am wrong about that. But so just to continue on, there's a problem, and even though I do have opinions, I do clear them up through my whole honesty, just to be factual and spit the truth. Because even though we have opinions, there's a foundation to everything that is factual. And as long as you stay honest and key, you will stay in line with those facts. And you will continue to be real and alive with your reality, and everything that you do speak will be a stature in everything that you will speak in all honesty through the light, and it will stand to the test of times because they were all facts. It will be a statue from the end of time because they are not your words. They are the foundations of what lies in our universe, and those are facts. They are your words, but they are not your words. You're just expressing what is, the fundamental of what is. What is the reality? What is the real? What is the truth? So as long as you speak upon those terms, those facts will stand, whether you say it or not. Because people people abide by those facts, whether they know it. They do abide by those facts, whether they know it or not, and they do abide by the facts that you speak because they're already abiding by them. But once you speak them, they have no other choice but to receive clarity because it hits them down to the core of the actual truth. That way, your information does not have to wave. There has not to be an argument other than the argument with themselves that don't want to receive it. Now, it's not your chance to argue somebody down and get some points off of it, or beat somebody off of a conversation or an argument. It's your duty, obligation, and responsibility to continue to be that being that does know, to continue to be that light in that person's or people's life. As you gain this knowledge, that means you've grown far enough to take a stance with the truth that you know and is living through, to be able to take a stance through this truth and knowledge in which you know and you are living through anything anybody says, because your information does not have to wait because you're telling the truth. That means you can stand through the darkest hour, the darkest of information, the darkest of conversation, and the darkest of any courts or any existence, even once you pass, because your frequency, your astral, your spirit, your ghost, your angel, your light can stand the test of all time, because you are one with the universe, because you are speaking the truth from the depth of your souls, from your light, which you know that is right. Don't ever give up doing what you're doing, especially if you know it's right. And you don't need a degree to say that. You don't need a. You don't need to be. You don't need to be enlightened to. What is it? You don't need to. These niggas be eating cheeseburgers and shit. You don't need to be. You don't need to be a professional, a certified professional to say or do these things. You know what I'm saying? You don't. You don't like. Man, you don't need to have any street cred or any type of credentials behind you. You know, I don't need to be a made man. I you know you don't need to be famous. You don't need to be popular. Back in my times, back in all times, it turns out just to empty the crevices and fill in the gaps of what a real man and a real nigga was and or was supposed to be. And we got demonized by people that were trying to say that you know demonized because of what they were being put through. So they exhibited certain types of behavior, and because of the images that were put out there, so we were directed upon multiple variables that's making us act a certain way while we were still raising and fending for our own. You know what I'm saying? You know, growing ourselves. So, you know, just to speak on, you know, real niggas' behalf when it comes to that instance. You know, there was some roughnecks in there and whatnot, but you know, from my experience and from a man's experience, from a little boy standpoint, that must have been a pretty hard, you know, journey, adventure, pill to swallow, life to endure. You know, especially being a black man and being so full of testosterone and you know that's speaking upon like a genomic you know sway, but you know black people do have juice, but you know just keeping it standard. That's hard for any boy or young man to manage those type of environments, hostile environments between the people outside and inside of your communities. You know, but while you're trying to figure out the world on your own, and there's nothing but guns, sex, and money and corruption around you, and mass media influences of what to and to not to do, you know, and historical misinformation. You know, people they would turn to lost boys. They would turn to lost boys, and they would look. They would they would they would they would they would be depicted as lost souls, men with lost souls, looking for a way, being treated a way, and acting a way, but they would never be seen with any sense of humanity, you know. So they would definitely leave that part out, so that you know them, their kids, any type of positive figures, anything you name it, just to say that you know these people aren't fit to live at all. You know, but these people were extremely intelligent people. I've known them, you know, and I've been on the side skirts, you know, on the outside pretty much, you know. There's a lot to tell about that, but just to say that, you know, real men, real niggas, real black men that did prestigious things, real men overall. Like I looked up to older Renaissance white men, you know, as I grew up as well. White men that knew their things, that knew their stuff, that knew their cars, that knew their watches, that were great men. You know Frank Sinatra type men. You know Seinfeld. You know uh, Jewish men like I think Raymond was Jewish, but like I looked up to like really um, like real firmly real firm characteristics and quality white men, white Renaissance men that were in depth with everything that they did. You know, and that was morally inclined in everything towards their fellow men. They would pick up a black man off the street. These are men. These are psychological implications that I took to combat the 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 negative connotation in which men without quality of different races, or even in my own race, would try to um, forth uh, forth on me, like uh, you know, push upon me their characteristics and their attitudes and their type of morale, and they would say that this is okay. And, you know, I understand that people are all different, men are different, um, you know, societies are different, ethnicity is different. You know, individuals in particular are extremely in depth differently, but there's still a foundation to all. You know, once again, we're all in, infinite. We're all in an all aspiring expansion of life through our own individual lives, but we hit each, each other's we hit each other on the dot every single time when it comes to the foundation of our morale and ethics. Eth- uh, yeah, and ethics. You know, so I, I I grew up never really swaying on knowing my rights and my wrongs. You know, I knew this through the male aspect and the female aspect, but I didn't understand it in the female aspect because we had to put them on a pedestal, and we were they were always seen higher than we were as men because of the job that they do. I mean, it's more because of who they were, but also because of my standpoint in the society and the culture that I grew up in, which is the hood. They tried to make me seem less than a man. So of course I had to grow and deal with that aspect of my life, but I still didn't have to wave because I knew the truth in which a man and a real man stands, and that is for the right thing. You have no right to disrespect me or try to judge me. Try to say that my words do not hold value. A real man would tell you to speak up. I remember those days. Real niggas told me to speak up. Real niggas told me to fight back. Real niggas told me to pay attention to government. Real niggas taught me about money and women. Real niggas didn't respect, like real niggas didn't respect women beaters, wife beaters. Like if you beat your woman, you got whooped on the streets. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole backdrop to real niggas that people don't even know about because they tried to erase that warrior class of black thuggish men, black savage masculinity, and replace it with drug dealing and ignorance and greed and 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 um, and I don't know, just in I mean I do know. I'm just gonna say it. Just they try to make it seem that you as a black man was unable to innovate, unable to be ethical, unable to get your people out of a certain situation. So once again, you come around full circle, and your women are looking at you another certain way. Like, okay, so you really don't care. And then they put it, more articles in the paper, like modern day articles, like not necessarily today. I have to say, even like 2 years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, black women were like, we're having, we're college black women, and we're having trouble finding good black men. I'm pretty sure it was a play, so more black men get their degrees. I understand they being a little slick with it. I'm starting to catch wind of that's going on, but I want it to be known that there's a whole backdrop of righteous real niggas that was out there that had a soul and a heart just like me, and that was fighting the way they could with whatever they had because that's all they knew. And they were fighting for the right reason. They were fighting to be righteousness. I mean, to be right in the name of being, you know, in the name of righteousness. They were fighting. But they, whether they knew it or not, I went back and forth from the hoods and ghettos to good neighborhoods, and just, I was always, watching. I was always watching and comparing the two. The only reason why I'm dropping these videos, whether people watch them or not, I know it's going to be watched one day, and I want them to know that I'm speaking from all sides. Like, a real man was always a real man. You go to Africa, you go to Africa, India, Saudi Arabia. A real man stands in the face of corruption. A real man stops a thief from, stops a criminal from doing crime. He doesn't need a certain authoritative backup, unless that authority is, morally, no, unless that authority is civilized, and we can use them in that way. You know what I'm saying? You can go through every single last movie and bring it back down to the dirt of your biological nature. You want the best for children. Of course, as a man, you are a protector and a provider. But you got to understand the male and female attraction, and how you are a part of her just as much as she is a part of you. That means you see spiders, you see elephants, you see herds of any type of four-legged animal. Their women are just as protective of their young as the man is. And the woman is a natural provider. As soon as that child comes out, that baby is sucking on her breast. How is she not a provider? This is cycle infrastructure that they're trying to catecholize us by. So we don't know what we're saying, and we're actually confusing ourselves when we speak, because people don't know the truth, or they don't seek the truth, or they hear the truth and they don't accept it, because some of them are afraid if they accept it, they're gonna either be unaccepted because you speak too real and you speak too clear, and you were raised in a society of conformism in order to get to the top, only to find out that top is is just as synthetic as the society that you live in, that you're conforming for in order to get to a uh, I don't even know how you would explain that. I mean, I do know, but I'm looking for a word. Only to get to an oasis with no way out. You know, only to, a happy place, but with no real expansion. So people, before I get too far gone, so people see, success, and people see success in, like, corporate executive CEO jobs, or being famous and whatnot. Okay, so Akon got $1 billion credit from China just to help people in Africa become innovative and self-reliant, so they can help themselves out. And as he was doing this, he was realizing that there were political parties involved, keeping them from being intelligent people, just so they could, let's just use common sense here. We see all these signs, and they say they don't, there's no reports of it, but that's once again, that's Satan, not necessarily speaking spiritually, but speaking spiritually, scientifically, and putting the pieces together from being puzzled through your psychology and the trail of information, in which there is no other option away from what you would believe is opinion and is complete fact, through the method in which you could just walk into that area or that information in which we're speaking of. People say I'm just probably throwing words. Nah. So you walk in there, and these people aren't aren't building. They're not self-reliant, and you get smack down in the middle of Africa. And these politics are the ones that are keeping you guys away from your resources and anything that you're able to touch. Yes, it's them niggas stopping them from growing. What more information that you need, you know? But once again, people are continuously relying on the internet, their phones, or somebody of an official stature to tell them what's true and what not true. Now, that is what we were afraid of in the first place. We knew that it was going to get to a point in which these people, the general public, was going to be so programmed by TV, radio, and multimedia services that somebody was going to be able to come on the television or be on your phones or the radio and be able to tell you what your reality was and what it was not. Now, the functions of this is also in your institutions and in your social engineering. Now, I speak to people, and I've done my research since I was a child upon, conspiracy, but I haven't went so much in depth just in terms of environmental engineering, and I turned out to be a great biotechnological um, exquisite, you know, but my point is that, oh, okay, I see where I was going. So along with that, I run into a mass amount of information due to my studies in the past in the past 3 to 4 years because of my my journey to not only pursue my art career, my rapping career, and people will laugh at that, but it is true that you can actually change people's frequencies, their vibration by your music. Now, you sit in the club or you sit in the lodge and somebody's playing the I'm gonna say ukulele just to be funny and back, but somebody's playing the guitar and they're singing a wholesome song, hey there, Delilah, whatever it may be, and you're feeling a certain way. But a nigga raps and everybody loses their marbles, I'm still getting a reaction out of you. You listening to the words and I'm conscious and I'm ripping this up. How you really feeling about your reality right now? If somebody really kicked it to you that way. 80s, 80s, 70s, 70s, 80s, hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Eventually we will evolve, but it's crazy that we had to reawaken. And the Egyptians used to call this wordplay the cipher. So we reawoken from being asleep, and we started running back to who we actually were. Once again, being African Americans, going through all that trauma and being generationally evolved from places in which we forgot, that means somewhere in our being there's a pool of informative potential that we have not even exhibited yet past what our ancestors were able to put into the universe themselves at the height of who they were, regardless of what happened to us. And of course, you see that the wrong people got a foot forward in natural society, you know. But it doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't mean that they're winning, you know. For our ancient brotherhoods, sisterhoods, and for our ancient families to date back as far as they did, and to do the things that they did, and how together we were during those times, I would have to say that our ancestors would be truly happy to know and to breathe what they built for us, why they were alive, and what they left behind for us, why they were alive, for the right reasons, as they were being the right people that they needed to be during those times. Not needed to be, that they loved being, because being that was the right thing to do. And it was more than just being it was more than being the right thing. Yeah, it was more than being the right thing. It was it's it's a joy to be exalted in the light in which we all favor. Thus meaning it's it must be a pretty great feeling as you see people like I said, so I can tie this together. As you see people open charitable organizations, as you see people getting their degrees and going off to, just to tie that together, to say that I'm not just saying that you don't need a degree, but once again, you're listening to a person that doesn't have one, or is entitled in any type of way, or seeking any type of credentials because of what a real man and a real nigga actually is. And I am my ancestors, and we had no titles, and we needed no titles. You know what I'm saying? And even if people had kings and queens, those people were of the people, and we represented those people. And it wasn't based upon heresy. We were of a civilization, and we were all kings and queens. We were a we were a society. We were a real civilization. But just to continue on, as these people congratulate and they see these heroes in the light, we watch these movies and they have these happy endings. You know, when you hear about wonderful stories of heroism on TV, you know, I don't want to repeat myself in that way, but every single time we see light, or every single time we see something being built with some type of purpose, we get a feeling inside that drives us even further in our existence, because we see hope. We see hope, and we see progress. We see evolution. We see innovation. We see innovative engineering that is going towards our, our, and our children's existence, and everybody around us. And it's not about discrimination. It's not about money. It's about doing the right thing. Now tell me when tell me if you thought about money once when I said those things. Tell me if you thought about any racism when I said these things. It's not about color or money or any of that stuff. It's about being a real being. What you want to die for, what you want to hurt somebody else for, what you want money for. You know, like, like for real, like what we doing this for? And these niggas, they tore down a half of a mountain just to build this highway. You know, these people out here trying to count species of jungle animals, and the jungle ain't even letting their asses in. But they trying to tally it up so they can teach us in classrooms, or just scientists come in there after they done took a hike and counted some lizards and say, oh, or just sonic the fucking bottom of the ocean while animals in the water have sonar in their heads. You know, some of their basic functions assisting the vibration in the water. But you just think you can just flick some vibration. Once again, you can do anything you put your mind to, so you can do it. But don't think there ain't shit out there. Oh, excuse me. Don't think it's stuff out there in nature, along with ourselves, that could jam that in some type of way, or be undetected in some type of way, while you up there just doing it just for a couple of tally marks and a check, you know. And I don't really mean to sound, that rash. And I'm not really trying to say that people not out there doing their jobs. I'm trying to inspire. I'm trying to inspire and somewhat motivate people to do better. To, if that's what you're gonna do, show some love and be an activist. It's crazy that we've been saying this for years, decades now, close to almost centuries. Actually, we've been saying this ever since all this stuff has ever happened to us, you know, and we're still in play now. We're still out here trying to fix the earth. We went to we went from, pollution to certain foods that, like, we ripped apart everything that we've been doing because we were seeing faults. That's a dog. It is a dog. Because we were seeing, it's a dog. It's a dog and it is walking. Because we were seeing faults in what we were doing and what we were all doing. So that also includes the people that started this in the first place. Their children, after these people have passed and left, has actually came back, joined hands with us, and are now fixing the problem themselves. And they are combating every power out there to do so. So tell me that this light ain't real. It's the Airbud white dog. I'm gonna give it a second, but I ain't gonna be like that. Shit. Muzzle suck. Tell him to get that muzzle off. Tell him to get that muzzle off. Got dogs on leashes and muzzles so they can't speak. And we think we in the right. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine mask on my face and I can't do what I naturally do. Like, nigga, dogs don't speak English, they speak dog, they bark. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit crazy. I don't understand. But this is all by chance. You know, there's no such thing as coincidence, but then it is. Or we wouldn't even have a word for it. There's no possible way. You got to pay attention to your coincidences, though. too, though. But there's no possible way that I could have I could have trailed in this journey and actually been this person. I could have had dogs on chains. I could have, but my energy and who I am, I'm on like seven big ass dogs. I want thousands of children like the old African generals were having. And niggas was having like 100 kids in the jungle and shit. I want children like that. Like I want a lot, and I want actually, with me knowing the stuff, I want it with a lot of different races of people. Like I want to mesh. Like I want to have like 20, and I want to like have a spectrum, like a shade, like a shade and color spectrum of all the all the women and kids, all the women I'm sleeping with, but all the kids are gonna be in that color and shade spectrum, and so they gonna like go light to dark or whatever. Like I want that shit, you know. That's really what's gonna be funny about that. 'Cause I want to have a lot of different people where, yeah. But that's also another. That's something I want, you know. And there's an aspect of myself that I don't want, that I fell in, but I actually, but since I understand my reality, I haven't fell into it. You know what I'm saying? And since I've always understood it, I never had to. You know, nor did I ever have to um, inhibit such behavior. You know what I mean? So I always formed myself. I always molded myself to be a man of good stature, a man with, you know, great quality and characteristics and morale. Like I know, it's this people think you're weird because you're not talkative or stuff like that. Back then, you know, you had a back then you had a normal conversation. It wasn't called small talk. It was called having a conversation. And you call somebody else quiet, you know, and this people be like, oh, well, we have to make towns and people have horses and stuff. Look, even back before then, people were just themselves, and they were when you didn't talk much. It didn't necessarily mean you didn't have to. That meant you were just secure with yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm secure in myself, and I'm walking around, and I'm just trying to change the world for the better, and I'm just showing love to people. Even when I speak and have conversations, it doesn't necessarily always mean that I'm right. But as long as I stay on that foundation and with the facts that apply to everything, then everything will be in good standing. I'm not saying that I'm right and wrong. I'm just enlightening people. Now, my methods and my savviness in which I'm trying to, you know, how I'm trying to get it over to people, you know, that'll be based off of my perspective and my opinion. But in terms of just facts and people receiving this information from a factual basis, it really just depends on if you're ready for it or not. And if you're not, you might feel a certain way. If you are, you might still react, or you'll just take it in. Will you accept it? Then that's also upon yourself. So it's my job to continue to be in the light and enlighten you out of who you are, out of your demons, out of your dimension, out of your domain, out of your descent, so you can be more of an angel. You know, they want to say another instance is that they want to say that the courts, just to bring up another point that I have on my phone that I took note of, is that they want to say that the courts and the church is separate. Like I was looking up, I was looking up. You know, basically they were saying that the state will protect you and your religious rights. Of course, the church is being attacked, and they have holy wars and stuff like that. But they were saying that the churches, they were saying that the police, not the police, that's the police just passed me, whatever. But they were saying that the state actually protects your right to practice religion. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution, like you know, basically the law protects you because you have the right to practice your religion. Okay, but based upon your based upon the statute in which you're saying I have the right, basically the statute, like your mentality, like your understanding in which which is Satan, to say that you don't know, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to chop it up. When those words are said. Also, I found out that water, the word Satan and hell and heaven and ether and elixir. These are all amplitudes. It's crazy, but it's also like they're also atomic. Um, they're also like atomic structure, like the periodic table. Like they're also like uh, chemicals. They're not. They're everywhere. It's not always. Actually, it is that way, but that's only speaking amplitude though. I believe it's another term for the width, but that's also speaking in width. It's I think it's latitude. Yeah, latitude. It's another term for latitude. You know what I'm saying? But they're kind of sometimes always in the same of the. They're always sometimes always in the same. But speaking in terms of latitude, there has to be another explanation of that. But just to speak upon, my findings that I had, that I found out inside. But what was I saying? Okay, so it's Satan for them niggas for those people to try to get y'all to believe that the church and the state is separate, and they don't want to admit that they actually got their their like their chest, their shoulders, um to lay down these laws. There we go. They don't want to admit that the origins from which they were allowed to lay down these laws were because of religion. Now, check this out. So they used to call, they used to crucify people that did crime, criminals. They used to crucify and prosecute. Well, Romans did, or Europeans. I once again, I don't believe in that the white Caucasian and evil people and stuff like that, because the story is being told that during medieval times that these people were practiced on by their kings, and that's why they turned them this way. I mean, that's how they got this way in the first place. Their kings and kingdoms took their knowledge away and trained them in the way that they wanted to do, to be in in society, so the king will live on through their actions. So they were actually of the king through the religious teachings of the alchemy of the alphabet and numbers. Come on now. You know, these are really magical scriptures, knowledge of the brain, and that's how they taught these people. And there was even Caucasian people and European people all across the world that were not this way at all. Once again, you know, wax on, putting clarity in the air when it comes to people who want to say either when it comes to white supremacy or new world orders or people want to say that they hate white people. They were just trained that way, and that's how they were taught from their people, and those people were the actual people that were taught these deceptive ways that knew during that time of the new world that these places already existed. You want to talk about pirates, you want to talk about people boating all the time and there being no boundaries and stories being told left and right and people were just traveling like it wasn't nothing and just making up stories, and they knew how to psychologically manipulate one another. They knew how to spiritually wipe people down and make them uh, praise a certain king or kingdom or something like that. That's what they were doing during that time, and that's the same thing that they're trying to do to us today. You know what I'm saying? But luckily, we had some people. I gotta make sure I don't forget my spot. But luckily, I want to say this: for these certain type of laws to be in place, when it comes to the Bill of Rights and Constitution, or just laws that are some laws that even continue past that. What I'm also starting to notice is biologically, in some ways, in a deep-rooted way, a lot of these laws were meant to went. I mean, they're meant to protect the people naturally. Like they were meant in the knowing of how we evolve and how we like these some of these laws have like a side note in which they know that if the government and or the people abide by it, that there had to be like there had to like they would have to know that if these things were implemented, that these people were acting this type of way. It's during the same time there were immensely great writers and teachers of this time. So you had people like the Prince of Machiavelli and Shakespeare. You know, they don't really tell much. You know, much other I almost said rappers, writers, soundbite, but but they don't tell much of other writers during this time, but we can always, look into it, and I'm pretty sure there were, but they were extremely intelligent when it came to understanding the dynamics of engineering a society. Because what they were doing, all they were doing at that time were being genes and just trying to make, copies of themselves last forever. That was the practice that they were trying to practice. So you see kingdoms telling, oh, you only read this and it's only going to be about me. And you're going to read this for the rest of your life. Your people going to read this for the rest of your life. And that's going to be me. And they're going to live through you. I'm going to have a billion concubines. I'm going to have as many children I possibly can find. Like they were all practicing this stuff. So you see it now. I mean, you see it then. And those are the same people that were doing this, that we're following today. You put two and two together and you actually see the dollar bill. You actually see the curriculum in which the history isn't even true, and the same type of stuff that they're trying to institutionalize us by is just a recycling of them trying to keep us in a certain mind status so they can keep a hold of a certain standpoint when you grow up, whether it's true or not. But it's all psychological. then they twist it around and know that you're gonna run over to a safe haven. So ever since the day that you were born, you, your parents, your grandmother all followed an understanding in which they told you we all came from, which is the Bible, which is God, in which they wrote. But they won't tell you that they wrote it. They'll be like, that's the word of God. That's the word of the man which wrote uh, that that famed that that created everything. So they know the screws. They know the pulleys and levers of social engineering, Leviathan. They know all of this. They know more than just architectural blueprints. This a better word. It's another word. Architectural factoring or architectural engineering or structuring or social civil engineering, which that's what you would call it. But they they were they were because they were building all of these societies from scratch at this time, and this is what some societies did, and it just so happened to be that society that we're following. We just so happen to be following the society that were corrupted, and those people that became corrupted in those societies